Now let's learn about another type of animals here in the wetlands that migrates, birds. Some of the birds here have short migrations, while others migrate all the way to the Arctic every summer to breed. Let me introduce Rosabel Miró, Executive Director of Panama Audubon Society. Rosabel, what does Panama Audubon Society do?
Panama Audubon Society works for conservation and education about birds and their habitats. Panama has an amazing number of bird species, and many birds migrate through Panama because it connects North and South America.
Why is a healthy string of wetlands important to birds?
Good question. Many birds, particularly shorebirds, migrate along the Pacific Flyway. They depend on wetlands in Panama, Mexico, United States, Canada, and finally the Arctic to make this long migration of thousands of miles. Shorebirds breed in the Arctic and raise young there. Why do they do that? The Arctic has more abundant food in the summer. There are huge numbers of insects for chicks and fledglings to eat. So here is a video of some cute shorebirds nesting in the Arctic.
I understand you and the students have been counting species and number of birds this morning. Why have you been doing that and how?
Statistics give us information on health of a species, whether numbers are declining or increasing. They can give us information about habitat and whether there is enough healthy habitat to support birds and other wildlife. Statistics enable people to make informed decisions about how to use land. So, what do we have been doing? How do we have been counting birds here? Very simple. For weeks, we have been coming here to learn how to identify and count birds. We have binoculars, a scope, a data sheet, where we have been recording the name of the species and the numbers of the species found here. We have clickers to help count the birds and even a field guide if we have identification doubts.
Let's ask the students to join us and ask them what they've seen.
Here with us is Maria Virginia.
Willets, for example, winter here and some migrate to Edmonton, Canada. That's about 3,600 miles.
Some of these willets may winter as far south as Venezuela. Other populations of willets overwinter on the northern coast of South America and travel up to the Atlantic coast as far north as Nova Scotia for the summer. That's a long migration. Now here with us is Fernando.
Today we counted 1,051 western sandpipers on the mudflats.
Thank you. Western sandpipers migrate from as far south as Peru all the way to Point Barrow, Alaska, the northernmost point of United States. We have millions of westerns here in the winter that migrate to Alaska. That's over 5,300 miles. To migrate such a large distance, they fly over 250 miles per day between stopover points. Now we have Maria Virginia again.
We saw a great blue heron, which is a large wading bird common in wetlands through North and Central America.
Great blue herons are fabulous birds. Here in Panama, they prefer mangroves, mudflats, and rocky shores, so you may have seen this bird very often. If this bird lives where the wetlands waters doesn't freeze, it may not migrate at all. Or it may travel shorter distances, for example, from St. Lawrence River in Quebec in the summer to Chesapeake Bay in Maryland and Virginia in the winter. The great blue herons here in Panama could potentially migrate all the way to Quebec, Canada, to breed, which is almost 3,000 miles away. Small migrations are more common, but that long migration is not impossible. Now Angie has some information to say.
Yes, we also saw a Whimbrel, which we have learned in class is a champion flyer.
One of the most wide-ranging shorebirds in the world, Whimbrels, here breed in the Arctic and spend the winter in the Bay of Panama further south. Some fly all the way to the southern tip of South America to overwinter. Other Whimbrel populations breed in places like Iceland and Siberia and migrate south to places like Africa, South Asia, and Australia. So we are back to you again.
We also saw laughing gulls today.
The laughing gull is another bird commonly found along coasts in North, Central, and South America. In the Bay of Panama, we see it on the mudflats and sandy areas too. It gets its name from the high-pitched cry that sounds like a laugh. Some laughing gulls migrate only short distances, but may fly as far as Maine, about 2,500 miles.
Thanks, Rosabel, Maria Virginia, Fernando, and Angie. It's amazing to look out at these mudflats and see these birds that every year travel such great distances.